All right. So to get things started, I just want to welcome everybody again. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us for this webinar. We have an awesome panel of guest speakers with us today. But before I turn it over to them, I do want to introduce myself. My name is Lindsay Tallman, and I am the program director at Construction Careers Foundation. And a little bit about Construction Careers Foundation. We are a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to educating young people about the vast variety of construction careers. And we do that by offering internships and other hands-on experiences, as well as this speaker series, which is really designed to educate students and their support system about construction careers. So today we have an awesome panel who is going to talk to you all about their apprenticeship journey. But before that, I will turn it over to our amazing partner, Apprenticeship Minnesota, and have Naomi introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. Lindsay, thank you for the introduction. As she had mentioned, my name's Naomi Cowan. I am coming from the Department of Labor and Industry's Office of Apprenticeship. So before we get started, I just wanted to remind everybody, give folks a brief overview of apprenticeship and kind of what we're all doing here. So as many of you know, apprenticeship is going to be this earn while you learn model where you are starting at an entry level point in a trade or job, and then you will be employed. And while you're working, you'll have access to what's called a journey worker. I like to say a journey worker is just a fancy term for somebody that knows what they're doing. It's a mentor. It's somebody who's on the job there to help the apprentice make sure that they're on the right track and that the apprentice isn't just, thrown to the wolves. The other thing about apprenticeship is there is a progressive wage scale. What that means is as an apprentice learns more on the job and can do more, they're going to get paid more. Their paychecks will reflect their knowledge. And then the last thing is they will also be getting related instruction. So I always say maybe it's a womp womp for some folks out there. There is a school component. There is always going to be a classroom or school involved in the apprenticeship, and these apprentices are going to be doing both school and work all together while they learn their skill or their craft. And then by the end, they will graduate out as a journey worker in their field, and they are able to be that person that knows everything and can teach an apprentice later on. And where the Department of Labor fits in is all of these programs that these folks are in worked with the Department of Labor and Industry to guarantee all of their apprentices are going to be getting the same access to these journey workers, the wage scales, and related instruction. If anybody has questions about what apprenticeship is, they can reach out to me after this. But I think that one thing about apprenticeship is that people kind of know about it, but they don't know what it looks like on a day-to-day basis. And so I'm really excited for 3 current apprentices or folks who have been through the program can kind of talk about what that day-to-day looks like and give people more context for what an apprenticeship really is.
Awesome. Thanks for that overview. All right, so let's turn it over to our guest speakers who are here with us today. If we could go around the room and take turns answering, share your name, what trade you're in, and how you first got interested in construction. And if you could, share which apprenticeship year you're in with the audience as well, that would be great. So if you'd like to go first and introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Cherish, local 563 laborers. I'm a third-year apprentice and a couple hours away from being a journeyman, but still level 3. And yeah, I joined the union back in 2020, and I've enjoyed it ever since.
Awesome, thank you. How about Natalie, if you'd like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Natalie Pilrain. I am a second-year apprentice with the Local 49 operating engineers, so I'm a heavy equipment operator. This is my second year of apprenticeship. I've almost met my hours for my third year. And yeah, just as Chair said, loved, I've loved it the whole time. I've learned a lot and it's been great.
Thank you. All right, Ella.
Hi, I'm Ella Redding. I'm with Local 292, so I'm an electrician. I just finished my apprenticeship program and passed my state test recently.
Congratulations. Congrats to all of you, and thank you so much for being here again today. So we're going to jump into some questions. And again, audience members, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop your question in the chat box and make sure that it's going to everyone so that we can all see your questions. All right, so to get started, Ella, this first question is for you. What motivated you to pursue a career in construction and join your apprenticeship program?
Growing up, my dad worked in the trades, so I kind of knew that that was a way I would like to go, and I enjoyed the benefits and the money that they promised.
Yep, definitely good benefits and hourly wages for sure. All right, and Natalie, how did you hear about your apprenticeship opportunities?
So through my high school, I found a program called Building Strong Communities. It's a free pre-apprenticeship program. And I went through that program, and that's where I kind of learned what apprenticeship is, what that even means, and the different options that come with that.
Very nice. Yes, that's a really great program. And for anybody on the call too, we can send out a website link to that program as well as a resource. So thanks for bringing that up. Cherish, what does a typical day look like for you as an apprentice?
For me personally, as an apprentice, a typical day starts, I would say, getting up before the sun is typically up, getting ready, heading into work, arriving typically 5 to 10 minutes early, just so you can put your boots on, gather everything you need so that you're prepared for your day. Um, Once you get to the office or the site, I would say my next steps would be to check the job information form, make sure I have everything I need to perform the duty of the day, and then make sure I have a backup to everything just in case anything goes wrong. Because in construction, you got to be ready for anything out there, because sometimes you're 10 minutes away from the shop, sometimes you're an hour away. So better safe than sorry. Once I confirm I have everything I need, just getting to the site, I try to get there a little early as well, maybe 5 to 10 minutes early. That way, if it's a start time of 7, I'm starting the work at 7 instead of just arriving at 7. Builds better relationships with contractors, I would say, and makes you look a little better towards your company in the long run. And it's just nice to be punctual. That's a big thing in the construction world, I would say. Um, and then once finished performing the task, just touch base with the job contact and make sure everything's to his liking. If it's not, try to get it as close to perfect, if not perfect, for them, and just finish the day safely and head back in, get home with everything that I left home with, fingers and toes.
Isn't that the truth? All right. Thank you so much. Ella, how does the mix of classroom learning and hands-on training work?
So for the electrical program, we work 4 days a week and we go to school 1 day a week for September through May, and we work all 5 days during the summer. For me, I personally really prefer that because then you're kind of breaking up your week, but then you're also seeing what you're learning about, maybe within days of learning about it.
Now, for Natalie and Cherish, does your mix of on-the-job training and classroom work look differently than Ella's program might? Yep.
I'll chime in. So yeah, I suppose ours does look a little bit different. For my union, my trade, Local 49, we work, a typical work season is, March or April through November, December. And that's the heavy working season. And then they call the winter the training season, off season. So that's when you would go and take most of your classes, is throughout the winter, the off season when most people are typically laid off.
And Cherish, is yours similar to either Natalie's or Ella's?
Yeah, I'd say pretty similar to Natalie's. My circumstance was a little different. When I joined the union, I joined a company that was just starting a very big project, Third Avenue Bridge, and that ran through wintertime. So I wasn't able to necessarily get the time off. You're always, as long as you schedule your classes and let them know, they typically will let you go, and it wouldn't be much of a problem. But when you're on a high profile job and there's deadlines to be met, you get a lot of your training on the job. And so I'm just now getting to a point where I'm able to knock out those classroom hours. That was a 3-year project, so it took a little bit of time, but yeah, pretty much like Natalie said, you work the summer months, and once it starts to get a little chilly outside or snow hits the ground, then it's time to go to school.
Great. Natalie, what's been your favorite project or type of work so far?
It's hard. Hi, yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite project. I've only been on so many so far. But as far as work goes, I run heavy equipment. I like moving dirt. I'm on the civil side. I do dirt work. I'm mostly I have the most experience in a skid loader. I really enjoy doing finish grading and or fine tuning work with a skid loader, or pushing lots of material. I also really enjoy running an excavator, throwing dirt, digging holes, stuff like that. So yeah.
Very fun. Um, let's see. Cherish, what kind of support or mentoring do you get while you're learning on the job?
I'd say I personally receive a lot. The company I'm with, we have about 6 guys totaling probably I'd say about 60 years experience in the field that I'm in. So I might not always ask for support, but I'm gonna get some support, and I'm gonna learn some tricks of the traits, and I'm gonna learn new ways of doing things as well as old ways of doing things, and that really just helps because it gives you a different mentality when it comes to tackling problems. You're not just looking at it tunnel vision. It really allows you to have a broad scope on how to assess something and tackle the overall situation. So, all in all, I receive a good amount of mentoring out there, I would say. So,
Good to hear. Ella, were you nervous starting out? And how did you adjust to being on a job site?
I definitely was nervous starting out, which I quickly learned was nothing to be nervous about because everybody understands that when you start out, you don't know as much as you think you do. Uh, I adjusted just by kind of keeping my head on a swivel, always watching my surroundings and the people around me, and then asking as many questions as I could think of, learning as much as I could, and just trying to take it all in.
Great. So the next questions are really about where were you? What did you do before you started your apprenticeship? I know career journeys kind of look different for everybody, and some people don't start in the construction industry right away. So kind of this question is for you, Natalie. Where did you work before your apprenticeship, and what kind of jobs did you have?
So I did kind of a complete 180 when I joined the union. I used to work in restaurants, daycares, hotels, just kind of I switched it up a little bit, mostly in restaurants, serving. Uh and yeah, it was a drastic change going from working, part-time at a restaurant to full-time construction overtime. But it's been amazing, and I'm so glad that I made that career change.
And Cherish and Ella, like, how about same question for you? Did you always know that construction was where you wanted to be, or what did you do before you started your apprenticeship?
so for me, it took a little while finding myself after high school, just figuring out what I wanted to do. Construction was never at the top of the list. I actually went into banking for a little bit, the U.S. Bank, Wells Fargo. I did that for a little while, and then they wanted me to start doing mortgages, and that made me a lot more nervous than a 25,000 piece flying over my head. I don't want to approve anybody for a mortgage. So I got into concrete polishing, doing like showroom floors and stuff like that. And I wasn't a big fan of it at first until I got my first check. And then I became a big fan of it and I wanted to keep doing it. And that unfortunately was non-union, so it didn't come with any of the benefits that I have now. And I'd say that's one of my biggest wishes is I wish I had joined the union a lot earlier than I did. But that started the itch for the construction, and then did a little HVAC work. That was union, and I just like to be outside. So highway heavy, working outside, working on roads. That's where I found the concrete cutting side of things, and I've been in love ever since.
Awesome. Ella, how about you?
I actually joined my apprenticeship program 3 months out of high school, so I didn't have many jobs beforehand, and I always kind of knew that this was where I wanted to end up eventually.
Very awesome. Love it. See, there's always different like backgrounds and stories about how people start in construction. So, just for like students on the call and support system, right? Like it's never too late to join a union or an apprenticeship program, and lots of resources out there too to get started early if that's the route that people want to go. Cherish, back to you. What do you think people misunderstand about careers in construction?
I would say a lot of people think construction is just back-breaking, brute work, but once you're out there, you realize you use your mind a lot more than you use your muscles, and about working safely. Um, just figuring out weights of pieces. I know Natalie is an operator. You got to know how heavy something is you're picking up. You got to think about the safest route, how from point A to point B, get it there safely. Not only do you want to make it home safely, but you want to make sure the people you're working around make it home safely. So I would say a lot of people think it's just turn your mind off and just use your muscles, but it's pretty equal in how much you use each one.
Good feedback, good advice. Awesome. Ella, what should someone who wants to be an apprentice do now to prepare?
My advice would be if you have an idea what trade you want to get into, reach out to that union and see if you can tour their training facilities or go ask them questions about job sites and the work they do, because a lot of them have um like testing to be on their wait list. So if you are interested in it and you can start getting ahead with getting on that wait list, that helps a lot in the long run.
All right. Anyone else, any other input on that? Since everybody kind of had a different entry point, any other feedback on how you might, what your advice would be for students to get started now?
Yeah, I think Ella made a great point on calling union halls. If there's certain trades that you think you're interested in, calling the hall, seeing if you could tour their training centers, that's a great option. And through those union halls, you can also find resources to free apprenticeship programs and just other informational things that you can find to learn more. That's how I got into my pre-apprenticeship program is I spoke to someone at the local 49 hall and she recommended the pre-apprenticeship program that I went through.
I would just recommend taking the initiative, you know, making that first point of contact. Don't just send in your app and wait for a call back. Reach out, even try to go up there, like they said, put a face to a name, let them get a feel for you, and show them that you're serious because there's a lot of turnover sometimes and a lot of new faces and people in and out. So you just want to show that you are serious and you do take this very seriously and you want to make a career out of it. And they'll take that seriously themselves.
Yeah, I love the feedback about making those calls, showing up. I know a lot of union halls and the training centers have open houses now too, so I would suggest that to students as well. Um, All right, Natalie, if someone isn't sure whether construction is for them, what would you tell them?
I feel like it definitely kind of ties into what we've just been talking about, making those calls to halls and getting more information, seeing if there's other resources that you can utilize to gain more information. Biggest thing though is, you won't truly know if it's for you unless you get out there and try. There's no harm in trying. If you think it's for you, you think it's something you might enjoy doing for a career, it doesn't hurt to try.
Yep, and you had a really great opportunity with building strong communities where you kind of get to explore all the different trades in construction, right?
I did, and that is an incredible program to go through if you are looking to get into union construction. Um, and yeah, I love that program, and I talk about it all the time.
Awesome. All right. And then for the audience members too, we'll follow up with some more information about like how Natalie mentioned, they went through building strong communities. We can share that. For high school students, we also offer a paid summer internship called Minnesota Trades Academy. So we can share more information about that as well. That's another way for young people to kind of explore all the different trades in construction before kind of settling on one choice. So, um, my last question before we open it up to the audience, and this is a reminder to audience members as well, please feel free to put your questions in the chat box, and once we get through this final question, then we can open it up to Q&A. So my last question is for everyone. If you all could please tell us what's been the most rewarding part of your apprenticeship journey so far?
Uh, I'll start, I guess. I'd say the most rewarding part is the knowledge, being able to take that knowledge home with me and um, help my mom build a deck if she needs it, or help a neighbor cut some concrete if they need some help quick or whatever it calls for. Just even being around the house, being a lot more handy. I just appreciate the knowledge and the different resources that are offered to us through our different unions, whether it be just mental health or insurance or just little things like that, go a long way in life. So
I'd say for me, one of the most rewarding things is looking back and realizing just how much I've learned and experienced. Because, like, now I'm working with some first year apprentices and they're asking questions, and it's like, yeah, I remember when I had to ask those questions too because I didn't know. And now I'm teaching you this stuff. So it's just amazing to look back and see how much I have learned and gained from being in the trades.
I'm gonna kind of repeat the same thing here, but yeah, definitely the most rewarding thing has been how much I've learned over the last 2 years and seeing kind of where I started. And, I was very nervous. I didn't know anything about construction. I didn't know the first thing about running equipment, but I've grown and I've learned a lot in the last 2 years. I'm constantly learning all the time here. And the work is fun. I love the work that we do. It's a lot easier to get up and go to work in the morning when you enjoy what you do. So the learning aspect has been extremely rewarding. And
Oh,
like,
Natalie, we can't hear you anymore.
what was that?
There we go. Now we can hear you.
Okay. How have you been able to hear me at all?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. I don't know where I left off, but the learning aspect has been incredibly rewarding to see my own personal growth, enjoying the work that we do. And also the pay and benefits are incredibly rewarding as well. I'll say that.
Awesome, awesome. So out of my curiosity, and for audience members to know, Cherish, Natalie, and Ella all took time out of their working day to be with us on this webinar. So out of curiosity, some of you are on the job right now, in a trailer, I believe, Natalie. So, just out of curiosity, what project are you all working on right now?
I work for Ames Construction, and right now we are doing the Vernon Avenue Bridge project in Edina, Minnesota. So that's where I'm at.
Anybody else care to share what project are you working on right now, or maybe you just completed a project?
We're gearing up to start the Nicollet Avenue Bridge. So just at the shop, getting all the trucks ready and making sure we have good working equipment in shape, ready to tackle that job. Should go for quite a while.
Awesome. Ella?
Yeah, so I'm currently with Parsons Electric, and we are building a 10-story addition to Abbott Northwestern Hospital.
See, look at that. Really cool. I love it. Because it's always like when we talk with young people and anybody on this call too, right, about construction careers, it's like the biggest thing is always like being able to drive by and be like, oh yeah, I built that, or like I helped, do that. So it's really awesome to hear all of you and the projects that you work on. All right, so we do have a couple of questions in the chat box, so I will open those up. And Cherish, Natalie, Ellie, Ella, please feel free to chime in and answer any of the questions you'd like. The first question is there a list of trades offered in the apprenticeship program and incorporated in unions? Naomi did respond and say CCF has a really great interpretive list of all the different trades and what they do on our website. Thanks, Naomi, for dropping the link in the chat. And I would also say, Apprenticeship Minnesota does a really great job on their website of breaking down all of the different trades, and they also include application deadlines, contact information, links to the union websites as well. So there's a lot of really great resources out there. So Oliver, hopefully that answers your question and helps you kind of start navigating apprenticeship programs and unions. Our other question is, how did you figure out which contractor to get a job with when you first started and joined the union? Great question. So if anybody wants to just chime in.
I'll touch on that one. I know, I mean, I can't speak for every union, but I'm sure most unions and my union, we as apprentices get apprenticeship coordinators. There are several at my union training center. And there's all sorts of people that are willing to help you get your foot in the door. But my apprenticeship coordinators and your apprenticeship coordinators will help you once you first get in to your union, kind of get you a job, get your foot in the door. And yeah, they can help you. They help me with that process. Yeah.
And Natalie, so sorry for the audience again. Share what union you're part of.
I'm with the local 49 operating engineers for the equipment.
Okay. And then Cherish, you're with.
The local 563 laborers. I work with Mayville Concrete Sawing Services.
Okay. And how did you land a job with them? What was kind of that process?
So through the local, we have a search engine that is just all union contractors. So I was literally just went to the link and I typed in concrete cutting, and it brought up a list of different contractors in the local that were hiring. And I sent the application to about 3 of them. And then I followed up that application with a phone call. And then I was able to get in there for an interview within a day or two. And it's just, we've been together ever since.
Great. Well, I love it. Like, because the theme really of this webinar too is like, you need to call, right? And so that's what we're always trying to drive home to young people as well, is pick up the phone, call those contractors, see who's hiring. So, Ella, can you remind us again which local you're with, and then what was the process for you to get a job with the contractor?
Yeah, so I'm with the IBEW Local 292. Our process is once you're hired on as an apprentice, our training director actually handles our calls. So he'll call you and be like, hey, this company has an opening. Can you start next week with them? And so then with our training program, we rotate contractors every 6 months for our first 3 years so that you get to see a variety of companies and a variety of work.
Okay, cool. So I'm hearing some unions operate differently in how you go about finding contractors. So for the audience members, depending, I think, so information to share would be, depending on which trade you're interested in, it might look different compared to other trades. So best way to kind of figure that out is call the local union hall. Go down there, visit them, learn a little bit more. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Any other questions from the audience? I think we got to all of the questions that they've asked so far. Yep, Natalie, go ahead.
I just see one here. I don't know if we touched on it yet. The age limit. I don't know if that's different for each union, but I can say for the local 49, you just have to be 18, have a high school diploma and a driver's.
Okay. And I'm seeing head nods, like in my experience and knowledge, it's the same thing. You have to be 18, driver's license, high school diploma, GED. Yeah. So thank you for touching on that point. I think that's it for audience.
Hey, Lindsay, sorry, I think Ella had something to add, and I think it's the same thing that I was gonna say. So go ahead, Ella.
Yeah.
So yeah, for my local, you do have to be 18 to work for them, but you definitely can apply before you're 18. I applied while I was still 17, so then once I turned 18, I was available for hire.
Awesome. Thanks for adding that. All right. Well, before I turn over to sharing resources, if there's any last minute questions from the audience, we'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, Cherish, Natalie, Ella, any other closing thoughts or statements, anything that you'd like to share with young people on the call or their support system to help guide them to an apprenticeship program? Any kind of final thoughts?
I would say once you start, don't stop. Work all the overtime you can while you're young. It'll get you to your pension quicker. Uh, you'll get those points a lot faster. You'll make a lot more money. Um, and just, I would say, time flies. So, and just make sure you get home safe. There's a lot of dangers out there, and that's the biggest thing is making it home safe.
Yeah, as Cherish said, being safe, getting home safe, taking care of yourself in and out of work, is also very important. If you think it might be for you, like I said earlier, and like we've all touched on, just give it a try. See if it's for you. Work hard, give it your best. What else was I gonna say? Totally spaced on what else I was gonna say, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd say like once you do get in, just ask the questions. Learn as much as you can, work as much as you can, but still take care of yourself. Like, you still have to have a life outside of work. That's definitely an important balance.
That's exactly what I spaced on is yes, the asking questions part. I very much agree with Ella. I try and ask as many questions as I can. If I don't know something, I ask, even if it doesn't have anything to do with me. I just want to learn, even if it's not my problem. So yeah, asking questions. And yes, the work home balance is very important for keeping your head on your shoulders.
I'd also say too, money management is very important. when you go from making a certain amount of money to a lot more of amount of money, you tend to spend it in different ways. And I would say save your money. Save your money so your money can save you one day. And it makes all your hard work worth it. You don't want to go out there, work 40, 50 hours and then blow your check in a weekend. You know, you just work so long, so hard for it. Save it and yeah, just but money management is probably one of the things I'd say.
Save your money so it can save you one day. Love that. Love it. And ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Yeah, all really awesome advice. Thank you all. Well, I don't see any other questions in the chat, which means that I think you all did a really great job of answering questions and hitting home all of the great points about your apprenticeship programs and construction in general. So thank you, Cherish, Natalie, Ella, for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day building. The final thing I want to leave everyone with is there's a slide of resources. All of these QR codes go to the respective websites of our guest speakers' apprenticeship programs. So you can scan those QR codes. It'll take you to the website to learn more about, application, deadlines, other information, things like that. We'll also follow up with everyone who registered for this event with a link to this recording and all of these websites as well. So if you don't have time to scan all of them right now, that's okay. We'll send them to you as in a follow-up email. And then the other website on here is Apprenticeship Minnesota, and that's who Naomi is with. Like I said before, a really great website that breaks down all of the different trade unions, contact information, application deadlines, things like that. But other than that, I really hope that everyone got a little something out of this webinar today. I really appreciate you all being here, and thank you again to our guest speakers. We do have another webinar coming up in December, and that's going to be all about intent to hire and how to kind of navigate an apprenticeship program and finding employment, which our guest speakers kind of touched on today. So we'll dive deeper into what that looks like and learn what the process is and how people can prepare for an apprenticeship program. So with that, thank you all again. Thank you, Cherish, Natalie, Ella. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.